The desert moon of Kestra was quiet that evening. The sky washed in a deep violet color as the sun dipped behind the jagged rocks. Daniel Hale walked carefully across the abandoned crash site, his boots crunching over strange shards that looked like metal but felt almost alive. He had been sent here to check an energy spike detected by the human outpost, and he honestly expected to find nothing more than fuel debris. But the air carried a strange hum, like something powerful was hiding beneath the sand. Daniel paused when he saw the strange glowing trails on the ground. They were thin, silver lines that curved as if someone had dragged a finger through liquid light. His heart beat faster. He lifted his scanner, and it immediately flashed red. Something was close. A soft sound came from behind him. Not a rock shifting. Not the wind. It was too light, too focused. He turned slowly, raising his flashlight. A figure stood there. She was tall, at least a head taller than him, and her skin was a soft silver shade with faint violet patterns running along her arms. Her hair flowed like dark silk, and her eyes shone bright gold, almost glowing in the dim light. She wore a fitted suit made of a material he had never seen, and her posture was sharp, dangerous. But what froze him completely was the weapon she pointed at his chest. It was shaped like a slender crescent, humming with blue light. Daniel lifted both hands carefully. "Easy," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." The alien woman stepped closer, her eyes narrowing like she was studying every detail of him. The weapon didn't shake. Her breathing didn't change. She moved with the calm confidence of someone trained for battle. Her voice came out low, controlled, but with a strange softness inside it. "Human," she said. "Why are you here? Why do you stand on sacred ground?" Daniel swallowed, keeping his hands raised. "I'm just investigating an energy signal. I didn't know this place belonged to anyone." She circled him slowly, keeping her weapon aimed at his heart. Daniel felt the hair on his neck rise as she examined him like a scientist studying a rare creature. When she stopped directly in front of him again, she leaned slightly forward. Her golden eyes locked onto his. Then she whispered a question he did not expect. "Why do your eyes seem so familiar?" Daniel blinked. That was not a threat, not a command. It sounded confused, maybe even emotional. "My eyes?" he repeated, carefully. She stepped closer until the weapon was almost touching his chest. Her face came only inches from his. Daniel could see the tiny silver freckles on her cheeks, glowing faintly. She stared into his eyes, searching for something. "Yes," she said quietly. "Your eyes. That color. I have seen it before." Daniel tried to breathe normally, but her intense gaze made his pulse quicken. "Maybe you met another human?" he offered. Her brows pressed together. "No human has ever stood before me. And yet, your eyes." She paused, and for the first time, the weapon dipped slightly. Her voice softened further. "They appear in my memories, but I do not know why." She stepped back, lowering her weapon just enough to show she wasn't going to attack him immediately. This was the first good sign he had seen. Daniel slowly lowered his hands. "Let's talk. I'm not your enemy." She studied his hands, then his face again. "Your species is unknown to my people. But you are different from what I expected." Daniel almost smiled. "That sounds like a compliment. I think. Kriye. She didn't smile back, but something in her expression changed like she was fighting a memory. Her gaze softened for a moment, then hardened as she raised her weapon again. "Do not move," she said firmly. "I must decide what to do with you." Daniel stood still. He didn't want to provoke her. But as she watched him, he couldn't help studying her too. She looked strong, but tired as if she had been through a long struggle. Dust covered parts of her suit. There were faint scorch marks near her shoulder. A small cut above her brow was still bleeding. "You're hurt," Daniel said. Her eyes snapped up. "Do not pretend Concern. I'm not pretending. You're injured. She hesitated, then looked away. It is nothing. My body heals quickly. That may be true, but not if you ignore wounds, Daniel replied. I have supplies. I can help. You offer help to someone pointing a weapon at you? It wouldn't be the first time, Daniel said with a shrug. A strange expression crossed her face. Not amusement. Not anger. Something in between, like she was trying very hard to understand him. She lowered the weapon another inch, her grip loosening. You are unusual, she murmured. So are you, Daniel said quietly. She tilted her head, fascinated by his calmness. Humans. You face danger with strange bravery. Or stupidity, he admitted. For the first time, the alien woman let out a very small breath, like a tiny laugh she didn't want him to hear. But she quickly closed off her expression again. My name is Daniel, he said softly. She watched him for several seconds before replying. I am Serana. Serana. The name sounded elegant, like a melody. Daniel repeated it quietly, and her eyes widened at the sound of it coming from his lips. No, she said suddenly. Do not speak my name. Daniel froze. Sorry. Did I pronounce it wrong? She shook her head. It is not that. It is strange to hear a human speaking it. It feels... She didn't finish the sentence. Before either could speak again, a loud rumble shook the ground around them. Daniel stumbled back, and Serana instantly grabbed him by the arm to keep him from falling. Her touch was warm and strong. Her weapon lifted again, aimed at the sky. A large shadow passed overhead, something enormous, circular, moving fast. Serana's eyes widened in alarm. They found me. Daniel looked up. A massive alien ship broke through the clouds, glowing with harsh red light. Who are they? He asked. My hunters, Serana whispered. My own people. Daniel stared at her in shock. You're being chased? She glanced at him, her breath unsteady for the first time. I escaped from them. They want something I carry, something I cannot let them take. What is it? She didn't answer, but her hand moved to her chest, where a faint blue glow pulsed beneath her suit, like a hidden crystal embedded under her skin. Daniel realized then that she wasn't just a soldier or explorer, she was running for her life. The ship began firing beams of red light across the desert, scanning the ground. We have to move, Daniel said. If they find you, they will not just take me, Serana said quietly. They will destroy everything around me, including you. Daniel grabbed her wrist gently. Then let's get out of here. Serana looked at him again, and for a brief moment, the fear in her eyes softened. She studied his face, his eyes, that strange familiarity she couldn't understand. I do not know why I trust you, she whispered, but something in your eyes, it calls to me. Another blast hit the ground nearby, throwing sand everywhere. Serana grabbed Daniel's arm and pulled him close as she crouched behind a rock. The heat from the explosion washed over them. Daniel felt her breath near his ear as she whispered urgently, Daniel, humans may be legends to my people, but tonight, you stay close to me if you want to survive. He nodded. I'm not leaving you. The ship roared overhead again, closer this time. Serana took a deep breath, made her decision, then tightened her grip on his arm. Follow me, she said. Everything changes tonight. And together, they ran into the violet desert as the hunters closed in. The desert wind pushed against Daniel and Serana as they ran through the violet-colored sands, their footprints fading quickly behind them. The hum of the alien ship echoed across the sky, chasing them like a predator that refused to rest. Daniel felt the heat of the recent blast still burning on his back, but Serana didn't slow down. Her movements were swift, controlled, like someone trained to survive against impossible odds. Daniel followed closely, trusting her choices, even if he didn't fully understand what she was running from. Serana finally stopped behind a jagged boulder. She pressed her back against the rough surface and pulled Daniel beside her. She peeked over the rock, her golden eyes narrowing as she watched the ship scatter red beams across the ground. Daniel bent over, trying to catch his breath, but Serana remained silent. Her body tense. She looked more alert than exhausted. "How far are they from finding us?" Daniel whispered. Serana didn't look at him as she replied, "Close. Too close. Their scanners can read life signs under the sand. We cannot stay in open ground." "No." Daniel peered toward the approaching ship. "Then where do we go? There's nothing but rock and sand." "There is more than you see," Serana said quietly. Before Daniel could ask what she meant, she crouched low and began moving again. Daniel stayed at her side. As they moved, the ground beneath them changed from soft sand to smooth stone. Strange ridges hummed faintly under their feet. Daniel looked down. "This isn't natural." "Every three. It is an ancient structure," Serana replied. "My people built it long ago, hidden beneath the desert." She ran her fingertips across the glowing lines etched into the ground. The patterns shimmered at her touch. There should be an entrance nearby. Daniel scanned the area, noticing a faint circular outline in the stone. "There. Is that it?" Serana nodded and stepped toward it. She placed her palm on the lines, and the entire circle lit up. A soft vibration traveled through the ground. Slowly, the stone slid open, revealing a dark passage leading underground. Daniel stared in disbelief. A hidden tunnel. Serana grabbed his wrist. "Inside. Quickly." Before Daniel could respond, another blast shook the desert behind them. The alien ship had spotted movement. Serana pushed Daniel into the tunnel and jumped in after him, just as the stones sealed shut above them. The humming stopped, leaving them in total darkness. Daniel felt Serana's hand grip his tightly. It surprised him how warm her touch was. Soft, yet strong. He heard her breathing softly in the dark. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked. "Yes," she whispered. "You?" "I'm fine. Just trying to see anything." "Give me a moment," she murmured. A dim blue light shimmered around her, coming from the glow beneath her suit near her chest. She pressed a hand over it, and the tunnel walls flickered to life with soft white lines, illuminating the path forward. The passage stretched long and wide, like an old underground highway. Daniel turned to Serana. "What is that glow?" She hesitated, then lowered her hand. The glow dimmed again. "It is called the core of echoes. It holds memories. Ancient ones. From before my time." She looked down the hallway, as if expecting something. "My people believe it is sacred, but some want to use it for war." Daniel listened carefully. "And you stole it from them?" Serana stepped slowly into the hallway. "I did not steal it. I was chosen to guard it. But when I discovered their plan, I fled." Daniel followed her, trying to understand. "So your own people are hunting you because you won't let them turn that thing into a weapon?" Serana nodded. "Yes." "Then you did the right thing," Daniel said gently. Serana looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "You speak with such certainty," she whispered. "Humans are strange." "Not strange," Daniel said. "Just stubborn. And I can tell you're not the type who would run unless it truly mattered." Something softened in Serana's eyes. She turned forward again. "We must keep moving. The hunters will try to breach the entrance." Daniel nodded, and they walked deeper into the ancient underground structure. The air was cool, carrying a faint metallic scent. Symbols glowed faintly across the walls, some shaped like spirals, others like stars or wings. Daniel couldn't help but trace his fingers over one symbol. "What do these mean?" he asked. "They tell stories," Serana replied. "Old stories from my ancestors. Some speak of great battles, others of peace. And some, she glanced at him, some speak of a world far from ours, a world of blue skies and oceans. Daniel stopped. Earth? It matches the descriptions, she whispered. But the texts call it a world of lost light. A forgotten place where long-ago travelers returned changed. Daniel shivered. Are you saying your people have been to Earth? Serana's gaze locked onto his eyes. Maybe not my people. But someone connected to us once saw your world. That may be why. Quote, why what? Daniel asked softly. Why your eyes feel familiar, she said. Daniel exhaled slowly. You think you've seen them in these memories? Serana didn't answer directly. She turned and continued walking. But her fingers brushed lightly against his hand, as if touching him helped her steady herself. After several minutes of quiet steps, they reached a wide room filled with tall, carved pillars. The roof stretched high above them, glowing faintly with geometric lines. In the center stood a circular platform. Serana stepped onto it and placed her hand on a stone block. The core of echoes pulsed in her chest, matching the rhythm of the platform. Daniel watched her carefully. She looked almost ethereal standing there, her silver skin reflecting the dim light, her patterns glowing softly. She closed her eyes, connecting to the platform. What are you doing? Daniel asked quietly. Activating a shield, she replied. It will hide us for a short time. He didn't interrupt. The platform lit up beneath her feet. A gentle hum filled the room. The air shimmered around the entrance to the tunnel. Serana opened her eyes and stepped down from the platform. The shield is weak. This place is too old. But it will hide our life signs for a while. Daniel nodded. That buys us time. What's the plan after this? Serana breathed slowly. I must reach the lower chamber. There is a device there that can send the core away, somewhere safe, somewhere they cannot reach. And you're doing all of this alone? Daniel asked. Serana looked at him. I was alone. But now, her voice faded. She didn't finish the sentence. A faint tremor shook the ground above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel tensed. They're trying to break in. Serana grabbed his wrist again. We must go. Now. Daniel followed her as she led him deeper through the ancient hallways. The symbols on the walls grew brighter the farther they went. As if the structure sensed Serana's presence. The air shifted to warmer, more alive. Daniel felt a growing heaviness in his chest, like he was breathing ancient history. As they entered another corridor, Serana suddenly stopped. She raised her hand in warning. Daniel froze. A soft metallic click echoed through the silence. Serana moved in front of him instantly, her body tensing. She scanned the corridor with sharp, focused eyes. Daniel whispered. What is it? Drones, she said. They breached the entrance. A faint red glow appeared around the far corner. Then, another. 3 spherical drones floated into view, each the size of a small box. Their red eyes blinked rapidly as they scanned the air. Serana pushed Daniel backward. She extended her hand, and for the first time, Daniel saw her palm glow with bright violet energy. The lines on her arms lit up too, flowing like living electricity. The drones sped toward them. Serana raised her arm and released a shockwave of violet light. It struck the drones, sending them crashing into the walls. Sparks flew everywhere. The bright glow faded from Serana's body, leaving her breathing hard. Daniel stepped forward. Are you okay? Yes, she said, though her voice trembled slightly. The core gives me strength, but using it drains me. Daniel steadied her by lightly placing a hand on her arm. Then let's save its power. We'll need it later. Serana didn't pull away. For a few seconds, she looked at his hand, as if surprised by the comfort it gave. Her voice softened. You care too easily, I care because you're fighting for something important, Daniel replied. And because you saved me too. She lowered her head slightly, her golden eyes flickering. Your kind, the stories said. Humans were dangerous, unpredictable. I never imagined finding someone like you. Another tremor shook the corridor. Serana's expression hardened again. We are close, but so are they. They ran together, deeper into the ancient maze of hallways. Each step brought them closer to the lower chamber and closer to danger. Daniel could feel Serana's tension growing. Even without words, her worry filled the air. Finally, they reached a tall door covered in glowing symbols. Serana placed her hand on it, and the markings lit up brighter than anything they had seen so far. This is it, she whispered. The lower chamber. Daniel touched her shoulder gently. We'll make it. Serana looked at him again with that strange mix of fear and trust. Daniel, whatever happens next, you must stay close to me. He nodded. I'm not leaving. The door began to open, light spilling out from inside. But before they could enter, a loud metallic roar echoed behind them. Serana turned sharply. The hunters had arrived. Her golden eyes widened, but she stood firm, gripping Daniel's hand tightly. Stay with me, she whispered. And the chamber door opened fully, revealing a blinding light waiting for them inside. The door to the lower chamber opened with a bright white glow that washed over Daniel and Serana, making the stone walls shine like polished silver. She stood tall, her body tense, her golden eyes fixed on the hunters approaching from behind them. Daniel could hear the metallic echoes of armored footsteps, growing louder in the corridor. The air thickened with pressure, as if the entire underground structure held its breath. Serana turned slightly toward Daniel. Inside, she whispered. He nodded and stepped into the glowing chamber. Serana followed him, but before she could fully enter, a sharp metallic command rang out from behind. Serana of the Valerian Guard. A deep voice boomed. Daniel turned quickly. Several tall figures in silver armor stood in the corridor. Their armor glowed with red symbols, and their eyes shone bright crimson like sharpened blades. They looked strong, disciplined, merciless. Serana's breath caught, and Daniel saw her hands shake for the first time. One of the armored figures stepped forward. He was taller than the rest, his armor heavier, his presence overwhelming. His voice carried authority. You cannot run from your own people. Serana stepped back fully into the chamber, and the door slid shut between them and the hunters. Their shouts echoed as the heavy stone sealed. Daniel turned to Serana, who kept staring at the door even after it closed. They won't stop, she whispered. Not until the core is back in their hands. Daniel placed a hand gently on her arm. Then, we make sure they never get it. Serana looked at him with a strange softness. You keep saying we. Because you're not alone anymore, Daniel said. Her breath trembled. She looked away quickly before emotion could take root in her eyes. Instead, she motioned for him to look around the chamber. The room was enormous, far larger than Daniel expected. Pale blue light glowed from crystal pillars arranged in a circle. The air was warm and felt alive, like the room was breathing with them. In the center stood a tall obelisk made of smooth stone and glowing threads. Symbols floated across its surface like living ink. Serana walked toward it slowly, reverently. This is the heart matrix, she said softly. The oldest place my ancestors built. Daniel followed her. And this can send the core somewhere safe? Yes, Serana whispered. She touched her chest lightly where the core pulsed beneath her suit. But using it comes with a cost. Daniel's eyes narrowed. What kind of cost? Serana turned to him, her expression troubled. When the core transfers, the guardian connected to it becomes weak. Sometimes, she hesitated. Sometimes the guardian does not survive. Daniel stared at her in shock. Serana, Why didn't you tell me earlier? I did not want fear to change your choice, she whispered. Running with me already put your life in danger. I thought, if you knew the truth, you might leave. Daniel shook his head. I wouldn't leave you. Serana's golden eyes widened, her breath catching at the sincerity in his voice. She stepped closer, almost involuntarily. Humans, she murmured. Your hearts are too brave or too foolish. I still cannot decide which. Daniel smiled softly. Maybe both. Serana looked away quickly, as if that smile pierced too deeply. She placed her hand on the obelisk, and the chamber lights flared brighter. The floor hummed beneath their feet. It has begun, Serana said. The hunters will sense the activation. Daniel clenched his fists. Then how do we fight them? Serana faced him again. The chamber will hold for a short time, but when the transfer starts, they will break through. She stepped closer, her voice firm, but gentle. Daniel, when they come, you must stand behind the inner pillars. They will protect you. And what about you? He asked. I will hold them back, she said simply. Daniel shook his head. Serana, I'm not hiding while you fight alone. Now, you are human, she said firmly. You do not have armor. You do not have energy shields. One blast. I don't care, Daniel interrupted. I'm not letting you face them alone. Serana's eyes glowed faintly, not with the core's light but with emotion. She opened her mouth to protest, but another tremor shook the chamber. The floor shook, as if something huge slammed into the outer wall. Dust drifted from the ceiling. They are breaking through faster than expected, Serana whispered. Daniel stepped beside her, ready to face whatever came next. Serana stared at him, as if memorizing his face. For a moment, they stood in silence, the world outside forgotten. Then, she lifted her hand slowly and touched Daniel's cheek. Her fingers were warm against his skin. You have the same eyes, she whispered, as the memory I saw in the core. Daniel felt his breath catch. What memory? Serana looked down, struggling for words. A memory of someone long ago. A human traveler. He protected one of my ancestors, saved her life, and his eyes. She looked into Daniel's again. They were just like yours. Daniel swallowed. Maybe that's why the core responded to me. Serana nodded softly. Yes. Another explosion shook the chamber. The outer wall cracked. Daniel and Serana backed away as red light seeped through the breaking stone. They are coming, Serana said. Her voice was no longer afraid. It was steady, strong. The wall burst open in a shower of stone and light. Several armored hunters entered, their red eyes scanning the chamber. The leader stepped forward, his voice cold. Serana, surrender. Serana raised her hand, violet energy swirling around her arm. No. Daniel grabbed a broken piece of crystal pillar, using it as a makeshift weapon. The hunters noticed him immediately. A human? One of them growled. Eliminate him. They charged. Serana moved faster. She unleashed a wave of violet light that collided with the hunters, sending them skidding backward. Daniel felt the ground crack from the impact. Serana staggered slightly, using the core drained her. Daniel stepped in front of her. I told you. We fight together. The hunters recovered quickly, their red eyes narrowing. The leader raised his staff. Take her alive. Kill the human. Serana stepped in front of Daniel, spreading her arms. You will not touch him. She unleashed another blast, but this time, it was weaker. The hunters pushed through it, their armor absorbing most of the energy. Daniel swung the crystal shard at the nearest hunter. The impact cracked the armor slightly, but didn't stop the hunter's advance. The hunter raised his arm, ready to strike him down. Serana screamed Daniel's name and slammed into the hunter, knocking him off balance. Daniel hit the hunter again, this time cracking the red visor. The hunter fell with a heavy thud. More hunters climbed through the broken wall. Serana gasped as the core pulsed violently. "It has started the transfer," she said. "I cannot stop it." Daniel tried to steady her. "Then we protect you until it finishes." Serana grabbed his arm tightly. "Daniel." "No," Daniel said firmly. "You're going to survive." Her golden eyes shimmered. "If I do not—" Before Daniel could respond, the leader charged at them. Serana pushed Daniel aside and met the attack head-on, her body glowing bright violet. The energy clashed with the hunter's red force. The room shook violently. Serana was strong, but the core was draining her faster now that the heart matrix was active. She stumbled, and the leader slammed her to the ground. Daniel raced forward, swinging the crystal shard with all his strength. The shard struck the leader's arm joint, forcing him back. Serana rose to her knees, breathing hard. The core glowed brightly under her suit, almost painfully. Daniel knelt beside her. "Serana, stay with me." She reached upward, touching his face again. "Your eyes. I knew them. Before I knew you." Another hunter lunged. Daniel and Serana moved together, Daniel blocking the swing with the fragment while Serana blasted the attacker with a weak pulse. The hunter fell. The chamber lights brightened suddenly. The transfer reached its peak. The obelisk glowed with blinding white light. Serana gasped. "It's done. The core. It's leaving." A beam of light shot from her chest into the obelisk. The core was gone. Serana collapsed instantly. Daniel caught her, gently lowering her to the ground. Her skin was pale. Her patterns dim. "Serana, hey, stay with me." She opened her eyes slightly. "Daniel, I'm sorry." "Don't you say goodbye," he whispered fiercely. "Not now." The leader staggered to his feet, enraged. "The core is gone. You will suffer for this." Daniel turned toward the hunters, fire burning in his chest. But before they could attack, the chamber trembled again, this time from deep below. The entire structure began to collapse. The hunters panicked, rushing toward the entrance. The leader glared at Daniel and Serana one last time before retreating. Daniel held Serana tightly. "Come on. I'm getting you out." She weakly shook her head. "I cannot walk." Daniel lifted her into his arms. "Then I'll carry you." The chamber roof cracked open, dust raining down. Daniel ran through the collapsing hallways, dodging falling stones and broken pillars. Serana clung to his shirt weakly, her breath shallow. "Daniel," she whispered, "why do you risk everything?" "For me?" "Because you risked everything for everyone else," he said. "Because you're brave. Because you trusted me. Because His voice softened. "Because I care." Serana's eyes fluttered. "Your eyes were the first thing that made me feel hope." They reached the surface just as the ground burst open behind them. Daniel collapsed to his knees, still holding Serana. The desert night was calm again, stars shining above them. Serana placed her hand on his cheek one last time, her voice faint. "Daniel, if I survive, stay with me?" Daniel tightened his grip around her. "I'm not going anywhere." Her golden eyes closed gently as she leaned into his arms, trusting him completely. The desert wind carried silence around them as Daniel held her close, refusing to let her go. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing. He wasn't letting Serana face the universe alone.